Throughout history, power has taken many forms, from the wisdom of philosophers to the conquests of emperors, from the inventions of geniuses to the revolutions of dreamers. But behind every great figure lies a question history can never quite answer. What truly drives influence, and what price must one pay to leave a mark on the world? Human history is written not only by kings and warriors, but by visionaries. In the quiet corners of Florence, a man once painted the future onto parchment. Leonardo da Vinci, artist, engineer, and inventor, seemed to live centuries ahead of his time. He envisioned flying machines, sketched human anatomy with surgical precision, and painted faces that still haunt our imagination. Yet Da Vinci left behind riddles. Even his genius couldn't he explain pages of notebooks filled with mirrored handwriting, cryptic symbols, and inventions that were never built. To this day, historians debate whether he was simply curious or hiding knowledge the world wasn't ready for. 2 centuries later, another man sought to explain the very language of the universe. Isaac Newton, a reclusive scholar, discovered the laws that bind the cosmos together: gravity, motion, light. Everything seemed to yield to his mind. Yet Newton, too, was a man of mystery. In his private writings, he spent more time studying alchemy and the Bible than science itself. Was he searching for divine order or the secret to immortality? Perhaps genius, like gravity, pulls the human mind toward questions it can never fully answer. Then came Albert Einstein, a soft-spoken patent clerk who rewrote the meaning of time itself. His theory of relativity shattered centuries of scientific belief. And yet, in the aftermath of his discovery, the world built weapons from his ideas, weapons powerful enough to erase cities. Einstein once said, "The unleashed power of the atom has changed everything, except our way of thinking." His genius gave humanity the key to creation and destruction, a legacy as inspiring as it is terrifying. Power, in the hands of rulers, takes on a different form. It shapes nations, conquers continents, and defines eras. But even the mightiest empires are shadows of ambition and fear. Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, mastered politics like an art. Her intelligence and charm could bend the will of Rome, as greatest men, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. But beneath her beauty was strategy, calculation, and survival. She ruled a kingdom caught between empires and refused to be a pawn. In the end, surrounded by betrayal and invasion, Cleopatra chose death over defeat. To this day, no one knows exactly how she died. A serpent's bite, poison, or something far more symbolic. Cleopatra became immortal, not through victory, but through the mystery she left behind. Centuries later, a small man with immense ambition would reshape Europe. Napoleon Bonaparte Solia, strategist, emperor. He rose from obscurity to crown himself ruler of France. His armies marched across the continent, spreading both revolution and war. He believed destiny favored the bold, until destiny itself turned against him. Exiled, defeated, and alone, Napoleon reflected on his legacy. Aeonce sai glorious fleeting, but obscurity is forever. And in that thought lies the truth of all power, that influence burns brightest just before it fades. Across the steppes of Asia, another conqueror had written that truth centuries earlier. Genghis Khan, born Temujin, united the Mongol tribes and built the largest contiguous empire in human history. To his enemies, he was a monster. To his people, a god. But Genghis Khan's legacy was not only conquest, it was connection. He opened trade routes, reformed Laos, and reshaped civilization itself. Yet, his burial site remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Even in death, the man who ruled half the known world chose to disappear. If rulers wield power, revolutionaries rewrite it. Their influence is not inherited, it's earned through conviction and sacrifice. History's judgment came late, but it came nonetheless. Then there was Mahatma Gandhi, the man who turned peace into a weapon. Without guns or armies, he challenged the greatest empire on earth. Through nonviolence, he inspired millions from India to America to resist tyranny. And yet, his life ended with a bullet fired by one of his own. The tragedy of Gandhi's death reminded the world that even peace has enemies. In Russia, Another revolutionary promised equality and delivered chaos. Vladimir Lenin turned Marx's philosophy into a movement, toppling empires and birthing a new one. To his followers, he was a savior. To his opponents, a tyrant. And when he died, his body was preserved like a relic, a symbol of eternal revolution. Lenin's influence would shape the 20th century and haunt it. Power doesn't always march or shout. Sometimes it whispers through words and ideas. Niccolò Machiavelli, a Florentine diplomat, wrote a book called The Prince, a manual for rulers on how to gain and keep power. His words became infamous. It is better to be feared than loved. But Machiavelli wasn't glorifying tyranny. He was warning against naivety. In revealing how rulers think, he became one of the most misunderstood men in history. Then came Rasputin, the mad monk of Russia. He claimed to heal the Tsar's son, but his real gift was control. With his eyes, his charisma, his strange presence, he bent the royal family to his will. When he became too powerful, nobles plotted to kill him, poisoning him, shooting him, drowning him. But Rasputin's story refused to die. His life became legend, a haunting reminder that influence can come from the shadows. And finally, there are the figures whose power turned into nightmares. Adolf Hitler rose from obscurity through manipulation, propaganda, and rage. He understood fear better than any general, and used it to command millions. For a decade, he reshaped the world through terror, until his empire of hate collapsed upon itself. Hitler's legacy remains humanity's darkest warning that charisma without conscience leads only to destruction. From Da Vinci's sketches to Einstein's equations, from Cleopatra's throne to Gandhi's silence, every influential figure shared one truth: power changes the world, but it never comes without cost. Some paid with their lives, others with their sanity, and some with their souls. History remembers their names, not because they were flawless, but because they dared to act. They dreamed, fought, and defied. They left behind mysteries, and in those mysteries, reflections of ourselves. For influence is not only about ruling nations or writing laws, it's about leaving behind an idea strong enough to outlive you. And perhaps that is history's greatest secret, that the most powerful people never truly die. They live on, in the echoes of the world. They changed,